If you ask me what it feels like to have your heart die in an instant, it's probably like a cold autumn rain drenching your spine, while the person you trust most is handing you a thorn-tipped dagger with their own hands. At this very moment, I am standing in the city's most luxurious Victoria bridal salon. In the mirror, I am wearing a mermaid wedding dress, hand-stitched by Parisian artisans over 800 hours, with layers of lace like rolling white waves, adorned with tiny, genuine South African diamonds. This should have been the most glorious moment of my life, yet in the reflection, besides me, there is an uninvited guest. Moo moo, this wedding dress is so beautiful. You don't mind if I borrow it for a photo, do you? Su Meow Meow, Jiyu Jingchen's delicate and helpless childhood sweetheart, is boldly tugging at the hem of my $1 million dress. Her hands are still smeared with the red velvet cake cream she just had in the lounge, and she casually wipes it on the white silk at my waist. I frowned and was about to reach out to push her away when the fitting room curtain was abruptly pulled open. Jiyu Jingchen walked in. Today, he was dressed in a minimalist dark grey suit, exuding an aura of cold aloofness. On his sculpturally perfect face, his brows were slightly furrowed, carrying a hint of impatience. Jingchen, don't you think I look better in this than Sister Mew Mew? Su Meow Meow fluttered over like a sparrow, but as she stepped on the hem of my dress, a sharp, tearing sound echoed rip. In that instant, the air froze. I looked down at my waist, where a jagged tear had been brutally ripped open. Su Meow Meow, my voice trembled, strained with the tension of extreme anger. I'm sorry, Sister Mew Mew, I didn't mean to, I just wanted to try. Su Meow Meow's eyes instantly reddened, and large teardrops fell as if on cue. She hid behind Jiyu Jingchen, trembling uncontrollably. Brother Jingchen, I really didn't mean it. Please help me beg Sister Mew Mew for mercy. She usually cares for me the most. Jiyu Jingchen glanced indifferently at the damaged wedding dress. When his gaze shifted to me, there was no trace of guilt in his eyes, only a kind of lofty weariness. Lin Mu, it's just a piece of clothing. If it's ruined, we can order another one. He walked over, offering no comfort. Instead, he raised his hand to glance at his wristwatch. Meow Meow is young and doesn't know her own strength. Why bother arguing with her? It makes you seem petty. I was so angry that I laughed instead, pointing at the tear. Jiyu Jingchen, this is the wedding dress I waited 3 months for and tried on 5 times before deciding on. The wedding is tomorrow. Where am I supposed to order a second one now? She's 23, not 3. Enough. Jiyu Jingchen's voice turned a few degrees colder, carrying an undeniable tone of command. Arguing over such a trivial matter in public only brings shame to the Jiyu family. Meow Meow likes this dress. Since it's damaged, let her take it to alter it for a photo. I'll have my secretary send a backup gown to the hotel. Let her take it. I stared fixedly into his cool eyes. Take my torn wedding dress. Yes, she's always wanted a beautiful dress. Just consider it a gift to her. Be good and don't get emotional on the eve of our wedding. He reached out to tousle my hair, but I turned my head to avoid it. His hand froze mid-air, a flicker of displeasure flashing in his eyes before he withdrew it as if nothing had happened. Su Meow Meow brushed past me with a smug look, lowering her voice to whisper in my ear, her breath as fragrant as orchids. Sister Mew Mew, your man, your wedding dress. If I want them, they're all mine. With that, she tugged at the tattered wedding dress and, like a triumphant peacock, swaggered out of the salon with Jiyu Jingchen. The sales assistants in the salon exchanged glances, their sympathetic gazes piercing me like needles. I stood there, staring at my disheveled reflection in the mirror. For Jiyu Jingchen, I had given up the chance to further my studies at a prestigious university, returning to help him secure the Jiyu family's empire. To please his harsh mother, I had suppressed all my sharp edges and learned so-called aristocratic etiquette. But what did I get in return? His taken-for-granted disregard, his willful blindness when others trampled on my dignity. I took a deep breath, and the surging emotions strangely settled at that moment. I didn't chase after him crying or call to question him. I took out my phone and dialed a number that had been untouched for 3 years. Hello, is this Mr. Hua? There was a 3-second silence on the other end of the line, followed by a low, magnetic, and intensely oppressive male voice, like icebergs colliding in the deep sea. Lin Mu, it's me. I stared at the pale yet resolute face in the mirror, speaking each word deliberately. Is the proposal you gave me 3 years ago still valid? I want to make a deal with you. 1. that can shake the GU consortium to its core and secure your Hua family's position at the top. What's the price? Hua Xi's cool voice carried a hint of amusement. The price is that tomorrow's bride will leave the wedding on time, and I need someone who can take me away. Ha! Hua Xi let out a low chuckle, the sound brimming with arrogant confidence. Lin Mu, I'll be waiting for you in the black Maybach at the back door of the salon. You have 3 minutes. I hung up the phone and, right in front of the sales assistant, tore up the receipt for the over 1 million yuan prepayment. I picked up my bag and walked toward the back door without looking back. As I passed the salon's private parking lot, I happened to see Jiyu Jingchen considerately opening the car door for Su Miaomiao. Su Miaomiao was holding the torn wedding dress that should have been mine. Smiling brightly, Jiyu Jingchen seemed to sense something and turned to glance in this direction. I didn't avoid his gaze. Instead, I gave him the brightest, most relaxed smile I had worn in the past 3 years. Then, right in front of him, I got into the black Maybach with the license plate Jing A times 00001. Through the dark car window, I saw Jiyu Jingchen's face instantly stiffen, and the look of unbelievable shock in his eyes. Inside the car, the cold scent of ebony sandalwood washed over me. Hua Xi sat in the shadows, his long legs crossed, toying with a white jade lighter in his hand. He raised his deep, pool-like eyes, studying me in the faint light, a dangerous curve lifting the corner of his mouth. Miss Lin, welcome to the game. I leaned back in the leather seat, closed my eyes, and felt the vibration of the vehicle starting. Jiyu Jingchen, you told me to be magnanimous, to let things go. Fine. Then I'll be magnanimous enough to hand over this funeral-like marriage to you completely tomorrow. You'll see a different kind of surprise. The neon lights outside the car window formed a continuous line, like a torn wound. Hua Xi sat beside me. He didn't ask why I was in such a sorry state, but instead, unhurriedly draped a pure black suit jacket over my shoulders. Tomorrow, I'll have someone drive down GU Corporation's early trading by 5 points. Hua Xi's voice was low, carrying a calmness that seemed to control everything. Lin Mu, what you've given me had better be worth this price. I pulled the coat tighter around my shoulders, still carrying the faint scent of cool cedar from him, a sense of security that eased my tense nerves ever so slightly. I turned to look at him, a cold flame igniting in the depths of my eyes. Don't worry, the core algorithm of GU Corporation was built by my own hands. GU Jingchen thinks I'm just a capable wife who handles trivial matters, so he never hesitated to let me access the underlying logic. I'll make him understand what it means to pull the rug out from under him. The car pulled up in front of the GU Corporation building at 10 o'clock in the dead of night. As GU Jingchen's nominal fiancé, I had access to the entire building. But I knew that this privilege would likely be revoked by that arrogant man after tomorrow's wedding, so I had to move fast, faster than he ever anticipated. Pushing open the door to the top-floor office, a familiar, cold fragrance washed over me. It was the scent GU Jingchen favored once. I thought it exuded sophistication, but now, it smelled as cold and lifeless as a morgue. I sat at my desk, my fingers flying across the keyboard. Every line of code I entered was a clean break from the humiliations of the past 3 years. I wasn't just extracting core data, I was erasing every trace I'd left behind. Lin Mu, what are you doing here? A sharp voice cut through the office silence. I turned to see Su Miaomiao, dressed in a new Chanel suit, carrying an exquisite food container, and swaggering in on stiletto heels. Behind her trailed a few senior employees from the finance department. When they saw me, their eyes darted away, and they awkwardly greeted, Miss Lin. Su Miaomiao, however, acted as if she were in her own home, directly sitting down in GU Jingchen's office chair and placing the food container on the desk with a thud. Brother Jingchen said you're tired and asked you to go home and rest. I'll be taking over the general office affairs for now. After all, you'll be Mrs. GU tomorrow. It's not appropriate for you to be out and about. I stopped what I was doing and looked at her coldly. You're taking over, Su Miaomiao. Can you read financial reports, or do you even know how to distinguish a corporate account? Don't look down on me. Su Miaomiao was somewhat flustered and angry. She turned to the finance director behind her and signaled, Director Wang, bring over those overseas contracts that need signing. Brother Jingchen said that from now on, such trivial matters don't need to trouble Sister Miu Miu. That Director Wang was someone from Gu's mother's side and had always been critical of me. At this moment, he stepped forward with a flattering smile and handed Su Meow Meow a pen. "Miss Su, this is what Mr. Gu instructed, the final payment for the South American project. The amount is quite large, so it really needs someone like you, a family member, to keep an eye on it." My eyelids twitched. The South American project was a massive ticking time bomb. Due to the unstable political situation there, I had been holding back the final payment to avoid risks. Was Jiu Jingchen insane, or was he so desperate to boost Su Meow Meow's credentials that he'd lost his mind? "Su Meow Meow, you can't sign that contract." I stood up, my tone serious. "Oh, Lin Mu, are you jealous?" Su Meow Meow laughed, her body shaking with mirth, deliberately scrawling her signature on the payment authorization form worth billions right in front of me. "Jing Chen said he hates your rigid, by the book, preachy attitude the most. He said being with you was like dating a robot utterly devoid of romance. Now that I'm helping him share the load, he couldn't be happier." As I looked at the now valid signature, the last bit of burden in my heart vanished. That was a load-bearing wall of the Gu family, and Su Meow Meow had personally torn it down. "Since you're so capable, I'll leave all of this to you." I simply turned off the computer, picked up my bag, and curled my lips into a playful smile. "I hope you can still smile this brightly after tomorrow's wedding." "What do you mean?" Su Meow Meow frowned. I ignored her and walked straight to the elevator. While waiting, Director Wang chased after me, blocking my way with a condescending sense of superiority. "Miss Lin, one must know their place. A family like the Gus, with a century-old legacy, doesn't need a domineering mistress. If you behave yourself and stick to your role as Mrs. Gu, you might just manage to keep your current status." I stopped in my tracks, looked him up and down, and said softly, "Director Wang, how much did Mrs. Gu offer you to make you so eager to take sides? But it doesn't matter. I'll suggest that someone from the Hua group take over your social security and housing fund while you're in prison." You're insane." Director Wang's face changed dramatically. The elevator doors closed, shutting out his shocked and uncertain expression. When I reached the lobby on the first floor, I happened to run into Gu's mother walking in, surrounded by several wealthy ladies. She was wearing a dark green cheongsam, and every gesture she made was filled with arrogance. "Lin Mu, why haven't you gone back to prepare yet? Have you memorized tomorrow's wedding procedures?" Gu's mother glanced at me sideways and lectured me in public. "Don't think you can slack off just because you're engaged. Our Gu family values etiquette the most. When serving tea tomorrow, keep your posture proper and don't act like someone from a petty background." The ladies around let out soft chuckles, and someone chimed in with a sarcastic tone. "Mrs. Gu, your daughter-in-law is a business powerhouse. How could she ever learn our kind of gentle, obedient manners?" In the past, I would have lowered my head and agreed, but now, I simply smiled faintly and said, "Mrs. Gu, rules are made for the living. I'm afraid you won't be able to drink tomorrow's tea." "How dare you, Mrs. Gu?" slammed her hand on the marble countertop. "How dare you curse me?" "It's not a curse, just a reminder." I stepped closer to her and lowered my voice. "Your precious son signed a gift worth 3 billion at Su Meow Meow's place today. If you hurry to the top floor now, you might still catch him in the act of destroying the Gu family fortune you're so proud of." With that, I ignored the sudden pallor on Mother Gu's face and strode out of the company. Outside, a light drizzle began to fall. My phone vibrated, a text message from an unfamiliar number. "Your things have all been moved. There's an invitation on the table, handwritten by the young master of the Hua family, Lin Mu. Are you ready to dazzle the entire room?" I deleted the message, pried out the phone card I'd used for 5 years, and casually tossed it into a roadside saw. When I returned to that so-called marital home, it was completely empty. My clothes, books, and even the succulent plant I had nurtured were all gone. All that remained was an empty tomb, burying 3 years of my foolishness. And on that expensive Italian stone dining table, a dark golden invitation lay quietly. It wasn't a wedding invitation, but an announcement banquet for the future technology partner hosted by the Hua Group, broadcast live worldwide. The timing, coincidentally, overlapped with my wedding. I picked up the invitation, my fingertips tracing the bold and powerful characters Hua CI on it. At that moment, the study door suddenly opened. Jiu Jingchen walked out in his loungewear, holding a glass of whiskey in his hand, looking somewhat weary. Seeing me, He was momentarily taken aback, then spoke in a calm tone. "You're back." Meow Meow said you had an unpleasant encounter with her at the company earlier. Lin Mu, this is my final warning to you. Tomorrow is the wedding. Put away your pride. If you target her again, I can call off this wedding. Looking at his confident and assured demeanor, I suddenly felt an overwhelming sense of absurdity. All right, I nodded with a smile, my tone more docile than ever before. I'll listen to you, Jiyu Jingchen. This wedding, you can call it off. Jiyu Jingchen probably didn't expect me to agree so quickly. He frowned, a flicker of doubt flashing in his eyes. What game are you playing now? Nothing. I just suddenly realized you were right. Being more generous makes things easier for everyone. I walked up to him and even straightened his already neat collar. Get a good rest tonight. Tomorrow's surprise will be something you'll remember for a lifetime. He looked at me, a trace of inexplicable panic flickering in his cool eyes. But he was used to controlling me and quickly masked it. It's best that you've come to your senses. He tilted his head back and finished the wine in his glass. Be there on time tomorrow. Don't embarrass me. I turned around with a smile and walked toward the guest room. Jiyu Jingchen. The timely appearance you think of and the one I define are not in the same place, Ain said. Section 3. The heavy rain poured down, pounding against the exquisitely carved stained glass windows of the Jiyu family estate with a dull, heavy sound. Tonight is the farewell to singlehood banquet, as Jiyu Jingchen calls it, but in reality, it's just a private gathering he organized to appease Su Miao Miao. He invited most of the city's elite, ostensibly to warm up for tomorrow's wedding, but in truth, it's his way of showing everyone that even after marriage, he can still spoil his childhood sweetheart to the heavens. I changed into a deep purple backless gown, a color that demands attention, yet perfectly accentuates the sharpness I've tempered over the years. When I pushed open the heavy doors of the banquet hall, the lively scene fell silent for a moment. Lin Mu, why are you dressed like this? Jiyu Jingchen walked over with a wine glass in hand, his brow furrowed, his gaze lingering on the expanse of my exposed back with clear scrutiny and displeasure. This color is too flashy. Meow Meow is wearing white today. As the bride-to-be, you should dress more gently and not overshadow her. I looked at Su Miao Miao standing beside him, wearing a simple white dress. I could recognize the lace pattern on the hem even with my eyes closed. It was clearly a fragment torn from my ruined wedding dress, clumsily sewn onto her waist like a bloody trophy. Jiyu Jingchen, you ask me to be generous, but I can't be so generous as to let you dictate the color of my clothes, can I? I walked past him and headed straight for the dessert table nearby, casually picking up a glass of deep red martini and raising it to him. Tonight, let's just enjoy ourselves. You. Before Jiyu Jingchen could finish, Su Miao Miao wrapped her arm around his and spoke in a coquettish tone. Jingchen, Sister Miu Miu might still be angry with me. Look at this dress. Even though it was made from a ruined wedding gown, I did it to avoid wasting your thoughtful gift. When Jiyu Jingchen turned to look at Su Miao Miao, the coldness in his eyes instantly melted into helpless indulgence. Don't mind her, she's been emotionally unstable lately. Come, let me introduce you to a few elders. They left me, the bride-to-be, standing there alone, as if I were just another piece of decor in this estate. Well, if it isn't the future Mrs. Jiyu. A group of socialites gathered around, led by one of Su Miao Miao's usual followers. Why are you drinking alone here? Look at Miss Su, she's the center of attention. I heard Mr. Jiyu even let her sign that big project in South America just to make her happy. Lin Mu, you're not even married yet, and you've already lost your authority as the lady of the house. I took a sip of the wine, its sharp flavor blooming on my tongue. I smiled gracefully at them. Indeed, after all, some big projects truly require someone bold and brainless to sign. Someone as cautious as me probably doesn't deserve such good fortune. The socialites were left speechless, snorting coldly as they dispersed. I idly swirled my wine glass, catching a glimpse of Su Miao Miao in my peripheral vision as she gracefully approached me with a glass of red wine. Her face was practically overflowing with smugness. Just as she drew near, her foot accidentally slipped, and the entire glass of red wine came straight toward my chest. I sidestepped with a speed that even surprised myself. With a sharp asterisk crash asterisk, the wine glass shattered on the floor, splattering red wine everywhere. Not a single drop touched me. Instead, most of it ended up staining Su Miao Miao's own white dress. Ah, Su Meow Meow cried out in shock, stumbling backward in embarrassment. Meow Meow. Ji Jingchen rushed over like a gust of wind, quickly supporting Su Meow Meow, then turned to glare at me angrily. Lin Mu, do you have to cause trouble tonight? She just wanted to come over and say hello to you, and you actually pushed her. I didn't push her, I said coldly, staring at him. She lost her balance on her own. Ji Jingchen, if your eyes are useless, you can donate them to someone in need. How dare you? Ji Jingchen's face turned livid with anger. Su Meow Meow leaned against his chest, crying pitifully. Jingchen, don't blame Sister Mew Mew, it's my own fault. This is the dress you gave me. Woo woo, alright, go change into something else. Ji Jingchen suppressed his anger and coldly tossed the words at me. Lin Mu, go back to your room and reflect. Don't come out again until all the guests have left. Your bitter and mean-spirited attitude truly disgusts me. I shrugged indifferently, turned around, and strode toward the corridor leading to the back garden under the sympathetic or disdainful gazes of the crowd. As I passed through the corridor, the rain grew heavier. The maze garden behind the manor appeared eerie and terrifying under the flashes of lightning. Instead of returning to my room, I walked into that darkness as agreed. Miss Lin's acting skills have regressed. A voice as cold as an icy spring came from the shadows at the entrance of the maze. Huasei leaned against a towering ancient pine tree, a half-smoked cigarette held between his fingers. He hadn't brought an umbrella, and the rain fell on the lush branches and leaves beside him, as if not daring to disturb this tyrant of the business world. He wore a long black trench coat today, his entire figure blending into the night, only his eyes shining with an astonishing brightness. Isn't Mr. Hu the same? Instead of staying in the glamorous scene ahead, you've come here to get drenched in the rain. I walked up to him, studying him by the occasional flashes of lightning. I was waiting for you. Huasei extinguished his cigarette and took a step forward. A powerful sense of oppression instantly enveloped me. He was taller than Ji Jingchen and even more inscrutable. He reached out, his fingertips gently lifting a strand of hair that had fallen over my shoulder, his voice low as if whispering in my ear. The humiliation Ji Jingchen gave you, I will return it to him tenfold tomorrow. Lin Mu, are you sure you want to completely ruin him at the wedding? That's the man you loved for 3 years. Love, I smiled self-mockingly, looking up to meet his gaze. Huasei, that was blindness. Now I've woken up. I don't want his life. I want all of the Ji family's pride to vanish into thin air tomorrow. I took an encrypted USB drive from my bag and handed it to him. This contains evidence of irregularities in Ji Corporation's overseas accounts, as well as the supplementary documents for the loopholes in the South American contract Su Meow Meow just signed. As long as you release this at the press conference tomorrow, Ji Jingchen's shares will collapse instantly. Huasei took the USB drive, his fingertips brushing against my palm unintentionally, sending a faint electric current through me. Good. He tucked the USB drive into his chest, then suddenly leaned in close, his cool breath brushing against the base of my ear. Then, as an exchange, after I take you away tomorrow, you will be the sole chief architect of the Hu Group. Lin Mu, I want you, both your person and your heart, your ambition in your career. Deal. I lifted my head, not backing down in the slightest. Just then, a flurry of hurried footsteps and Su Meow Meow's shriek came from behind. Brother Jingchen, look, I told you Sister Lin Mu was there. She's actually meeting a man in private here. I turned around and saw Ji Jingchen rushing over with a group of bodyguards and a few troublemakers. The beams of flashlights swung wildly, shining on both Huasei and me. The moment Ji Jingchen clearly saw Huasei, his expression shifted from anger to shock, followed by deep apprehension. Huasei, what are you doing here? Ji Jingchen's voice trembled with suppressed emotion. He strode forward, grabbing my wrist with a force so strong it felt like he was trying to crush my bones. Lin Mu, have you lost your mind? How dare you get involved with someone from the Hu family? Huasei looked coldly at Ji Jingchen, his gaze as if he were observing an ant. He leisurely unbuttoned his trench coat, took it off completely, and wrapped it tightly around me, forcibly separating Ji Jingchen's hand from me. Mr. Ji, your fiancé has caught a chill in the rain. As the host, you don't seem to be doing a very good job. Huasei's voice was not loud, yet it carried an intimidating force that sent shivers down one's spine. My family matters are none of your concern, Mr. Hu. Ji Jingchen gritted his teeth, his eyes fixed on me with a raging jealousy. Lin Mu, come back with me. Wrapped in Hua Xi's warm coat, breathing in its cool, refreshing scent, I looked at Ji Jingchen with nothing but indifference. Ji Jingchen, the wedding hasn't even taken place yet, and I'm already losing my freedom, mister. Hua was just being kind, offering help because my clothes were wet. Your frantic, desperate behavior is truly an embarrassment to the Ji family. You, brother Jingchen, Su Miao Miao whispered from behind, we have guests to entertain tomorrow. Don't let this escalate. Ji Jingchen stared at me intently, then glanced at the composed Hua Xi. In the end, he could only take a deep breath and force himself to calm down. Lin Mu, this is the last time. If you dare to step out of this maze tonight, tomorrow's wedding will only happen if you get down on your knees and beg me. With that, he stormed off with his entourage. Hua Xi stood behind me, letting out a scornful sneer. Beg him on your knees. Lin Mu, tomorrow I'll show him what it truly means to be unattainably high. I turned to look at him. In the curtain of rain, the man's silhouette was deep and dangerous. Hua Xi, see you tomorrow. See you tomorrow, my new partner. I turned around and walked through the mud toward the brightly lit manor. In the darkness behind me, that cold gaze followed me until I disappeared at the end of the corridor. Ji Jingchen, did you think tonight was a farewell to singlehood? No. Tonight is a farewell to your precarious business empire. 24 hours until the wedding, the entire Ji family villa was plunged into a morbid state of busyness outside the floor-to-ceiling window. The pale morning sunlight spread across the floor. I sat in front of the dressing table, staring at the expressionless woman in the mirror. When Ji Jingchen pushed the door open, he was holding 2 documents in his hand, the originally drafted supplementary clauses to the prenuptial agreement. Lin Mu, I'll let last night's incident slide out of respect for the Hua family, but you need to remember your place. He tossed the documents onto the table, his tone as cold and arrogant as ever. Someone like Hua Xi is just using you for amusement, or perhaps trying to probe the Ji family's situation through you. Do you really think he'd be interested in a woman of such ordinary background? I lowered my eyelashes, hiding the flicker of mockery in my eyes, and replied softly, I understand. Also, Miao Miao will be moving into the annex today. From now on, she will be my personal assistant and an honored guest in this household. I don't want to hear about any more conflicts between you and her. Since you're going to be Mrs. Ji, you need to have the grace to tolerate others. After saying this, he reached out and pinched my chin as if granting a favor. Be good, and I'll give you a grand wedding tomorrow. I looked up and gave him a smile so submissive it was almost eerie. All right, I'll make sure to prepare properly. Seeing my softened attitude, a flicker of satisfaction flashed in Ji Jingchen's eyes before he turned and strode out of the room. He probably thought that someone like me, a clinging vine that had depended on him for 3 years, would simply rot in the mud even if my tendrils were snapped, never daring to turn things around. 10 minutes after he left, I called the moving company. Time to move in, and be quick about it. Half an hour later, 3 vans disguised as delivery vehicles for gowns and flowers pulled up at the back door of the villa. Leading the operation was someone sent by Hua Xi, who handled everything with extreme efficiency. I didn't need to take any of the designer bags or jewelry, those were just shackles Ji Jingchen had bought to dress up his perfect wife image. What I took with me were all the professional books I had purchased at my own expense over the past 3 years, my private server filled with core code, and all the equity certificates under my name that had already been secretly liquidated. Miss Lin, Mr. Hua has instructed that aside from your personal belongings, not a single trace of anything here, not even a piece of paper, should be left behind. The lead man in a suit whispered. I nodded, watching as they skillfully dismantled the equipment in my study, swiftly erasing every trace of my life from this villa inch by inch. To avoid triggering the surveillance alarms set by Ji Jingchen, Hua Xi's people directly hacked the residential security system, using a 10-minute looped recording to cover the real footage. Just as the moving was nearing completion, Su Miao Miao barged in at an inopportune moment. She was wearing a fiery red nightgown, holding a cup of coffee, originally intending to flaunt the sapphire necklace Ji Jingchen had just given her in front of me. But when she saw the black-clad figures scurrying around the room and the empty bookshelves, she froze completely. Lin Mu, what are you doing? How dare you privately sell off the GU family's assets? Su Meow Meow screamed as she rushed forward, reaching out to grab a box from a mover's hands. Put that down. These are all Jingchen's things. Su Meow Meow, look closely. These books, these computers, not a single penny of GU Jingchen's money was spent on them. I stood up, blocking her path, my gaze as cold as steel. These are my life, Lin Mu's life. GU Jingchen doesn't deserve them, and you have even less right to touch them. You're insane. Are you trying to run away from the wedding? Su Meow Meow's eyes darted, then a venomous smile spread across her face. Fine, go ahead. If you leave, I can rightfully stand by Jingchen's side at tomorrow's wedding. But do you really think you can escape? Jingchen has people at the airport and the docks. The moment you show your face, you'll be dragged back. Is that so? I sneered, stepping closer to her. Then go ahead and call him right now. But think carefully. If he comes back now and sees I haven't left yet, he'll lock me up to save face for tomorrow, and then your bride dream will be completely shattered. Su Meow Meow, if you're smart enough, you'll help me keep it from him until the moment tomorrow's wedding begins. Su Meow Meow took a step back, frightened by the ferocity in my eyes. She bit her lip, greed and cunning intertwining in her gaze. In the end, she put away her phone and snorted coldly. Fine, you know what's good for you. Get out of here, and go as far away as you can. Never come back to get in my way. I didn't look at her again. Picked up my small bag, and walked into the elevator without looking back. At 2 in the afternoon, I appeared on the private tarmac at the airport, where CI was sitting in a pitch-black folding chair, holding an aerospace newspaper in his hand, with a cup of steaming black coffee on the small table beside him. He seemed to have been waiting for a long time. Hearing the footsteps, he slightly turned his head, his deep gaze falling on me. Did you take care of everything? I walked over to him, gazing at the private jet emblazoned with the Hua family crest waiting in the distance. From now on, there will no longer be GU Jingchen's Lin Mu in this world. GU Jingchen just sent me a message, bragging that you'll be wearing the second wedding dress he prepared tomorrow. Hua Si set down the newspaper, a mocking smile curling at the corner of his lips. He hasn't even realized that his so-called fiancé has taken all her identification documents with her. He's too arrogant. He thinks that without him, I wouldn't even be able to survive. I took the coffee Hua Si handed me, the bitter taste sliding down my throat. Has GU Corporation's stock price fluctuated? It's already begun. The loophole you left in that South American contract was confirmed for execution in the system by that fool Su Meow Meow. Now, those billions in funds have already flowed overseas through accounts suspected of money laundering. At the earliest, when the wedding begins tomorrow, the economic crime investigators will be knocking on their door. Hua Si stood up, his tall figure blocking most of the sunlight. He extended his hand, this time not in a teasing manner, but as a solemn invitation. Lin Mu, the real battlefield isn't in that church, but at tomorrow's press conference. Come with me, and let's reclaim the crown that belongs to you. I took a deep breath and placed my palm in his. It was a hand full of strength, dry and warm, completely different from GU Jingchen's perpetually cold touch. Just as I stepped onto the aircraft's boarding ladder, my phone vibrated. It was sent by GU Jingchen. Lin Mu, stop being temperamental. I've ordered a new set of ruby jewelry for you to wear at tomorrow's wedding. Get some rest early. You'll be the most beautiful bride tomorrow. Don't let me down. I looked at the text message, which was filled with the condescending tone of someone in power, and expressionlessly removed the SIM card. Casually tossing it into the grass by the runway, the cabin door slowly closed, and the roar of the massive engines drowned out all the noise in the world. GU Jingchen, you told me not to let you down. Then tomorrow, I will definitely give you a surprise you will never forget. On the island in the early morning, the salty sea breeze drifted through the Santorina-style cathedral, with white roses covering the 100-meter-long corridor. GU Jingchen spared no expense for this wedding, even inviting globally renowned media for a live broadcast. Under the guise of giving the ordinary girl Lin Mu a dream wedding of the century, his true intention was to stabilize the recently turbulent stock price of the GU Group and craft an image of a devoted and steady heir. I sat in the private surveillance vehicle of the Hua family, watching the confident man on the large screen. He had changed into his custom-made white tailcoat, looking as coldly handsome as a deity, calmly shaking hands with dignitaries from all walks of life. Lin Mu, look at him. Doesn't he resemble a puppet who thinks he's in control of his own fate? Huasi sat beside me, lightly tapping the real-time trend chart on the tablet with his fingertip. He only ever sees what he wants to see. I coldly withdrew my gaze, lowering my head to straighten the black professional suit I was wearing. Today, I was not the bride at the wedding venue. The time had arrived. The priest stood awkwardly before the altar, while the celebrities in the audience began whispering among themselves. The bride, who should have appeared at the end of the red carpet, was nowhere to be seen. Jiyu Jingchen's expression shifted from its initial calmness to a deepening gloom, his deep eyes beginning to churn with a violent fury. Go, bring Lin Mu to me. Jiyu Jingchen lowered his voice and roared at his assistant beside him. Even if you have to tie her up, get her onto the sacred altar. Mr. Jiyu, Miss Lin's lounge is empty. Even the wedding dress is gone. The assistant broke out in a cold sweat, trembling as he reported. At that moment, Su Miao Miao, who had been waiting for an opportunity, rushed onto the stage wearing the white dress made from the fragments of my wedding gown, putting on an affected act. Her face was full of anxiety, but her voice was loud enough for the reporters in the front row to hear clearly. Jingchen, it's terrible. Sister Mu, she seems to have run off with another man. I saw her get into a black car this morning. It had the Hua family's license plate. The entire venue erupted in an uproar. Jiyu Jingchen suddenly turned to stare at Su Miao Miao, the veins at his temples throbbing violently. What did you say? I said, Lin Mu has betrayed you. She doesn't deserve the title of Mrs. Jiyu at all. Seizing the opportunity, Su Miao Miao clung tightly to Jiyu Jingchen's arms and tearfully addressed the cameras. Jingchen, if you need me, I can take her place in this wedding. I can't let you lose face. I can't let the Jiyu family become a laughingstock. Jiyu Jingchen looked at Su Miao Miao's pitiful face, then at the countless cameras and reporters below. The arrogance ingrained in his bones drove him to make a reckless decision. He would make Lin Mu regret this. He would show her that Jiyu Jingchen could turn the world upside down without anyone. Fine. Jiyu Jingchen gritted his teeth and spoke. Since Lin Mu doesn't know what's good for her, today's bride will be Su Miao Miao. The media below the stage frantically clicked their shutters. Su Miao Miao was overjoyed and was about to lift her skirt to walk toward the priest when suddenly, the massive LED screen in the center of the cathedral emitted a piercing electromagnetic noise. The video montage of the couple's love story that had been playing was instantly cut off. The screen switched to a highly futuristic conference room, where I appeared at the center of the frame, my expression cool and detached. Behind me, the logo of the Hua Consortium was prominently displayed. Ladies and gentlemen, my apologies for interrupting your wedding viewing time. My voice echoed through every corner of the cathedral via the high-end sound system. Jiyu Jingchen froze abruptly, his eyes fixed intently on me on the screen. Su Miao Miao was also stunned, her previously smug smile frozen on her face. I, Lin Mu, hereby formally announce that due to Mr. Jiyu Jingchen's repeated emotional betrayals before marriage, as well as his use of his fiancée's name for illegal fundraising and money laundering, I submitted a unilateral application to dissolve the engagement to the court yesterday and have already handed over all key evidence to the Economic Crime Investigation Department. I calmly flipped through the documents in my hand as the camera zoomed in, revealing one overseas remittance slip after another, each bearing Su Miao Miao's personal signature. Additionally, Mr. Jiyu, the wedding dress worn by Miss Su in your arms seems to have undergone a certain chemical reaction. A playful smile curled at the corner of my lips. That's a special developer applied to prevent fabric oxidation. Once exposed to high-density ultraviolet light and human sweat, it will, it's so itchy. My face, Su Miao Miao suddenly screamed. Her originally fair skin was quickly covered in dark red patches. The fragments of the wedding dress, which she had treasured like a precious gem, began to emit a pungent odor, and the fabric actually started to turn black and curl up right before everyone's eyes. She frantically scratched her neck and face. Her delicate makeup instantly ruined, making her look as ferocious as a vengeful ghost. Get away, don't touch me. Jiyu Jingchen pushed Su Miao Miao away in disgust, the physical nausea caused by her selfishness making him forget about the cameras. Lin Mu, you bitch, how dare you harm me? Su Miao Miao fell to the ground, screaming at the screen. Harm you? You brought that upon yourself. The things you stole were already poisoned. I stared coldly at Jiyu Jingchen in the camera. Jiyu Jingchen, why did the wedding stop? Is the bride not beautiful enough? Or is your company's stock price not falling fast enough? At that very moment, the urgent sound of police sirens echoed. Outside the church doors, dozens of uniformed economic crime investigators and anti-corruption commission agents pushed open the doors. Mr. Jiyu Jingchen, MS, Su Miao Miao, you are suspected of major financial fraud and misappropriation of commercial secrets. Please come with us. Jiyu Jingchen staggered a step, watching as the guests who once admired him turned against him, seeing the media's lenses shift from praise to judgment, and witnessing the empire he had meticulously maintained crumble apart. In just 5 minutes he looked up at me on the screen, his eyes finally revealing something called fear and regret. Lin Mu, come back, we can talk. There's nothing to talk about, President Jiyu. I faced the camera, revealing a calm and radiant smile. This is just the beginning. What you owe me, I will make you pay back, bit by bit, until it's all gone. The screen cuts off. I turn to look at Hu Ci, who is sitting beside me, elegantly applauding. Let's go, Mr. Hu. The press conference is about to begin. In the top-floor press hall of the Hu Consortium, cool-toned lights crisscrossed like a flowing river of stars. Unlike the absurd wedding at the island church, this place was filled with the world's top tech media and venture capital magnates. The air was thick with the scent of high-end perfumes and expensive cigars, creating an atmosphere of solemnity and gravitas. I stood in the wings, taking a deep breath. The sharply tailored black suit I wore accentuated my straight posture, making me look like a drawn blade. Nervous, Hu Ci had appeared behind me at some point. He had changed into a dark blue suit with subtle patterns, a sapphire pin gleaming at his collar. Instead of rushing to the stage, he leaned casually against the wall, looking down at me with the discerning gaze of someone in a position of power. No, it's excitement. I met his gaze, the flames of ambition flickering in my eyes. After lying low for 3 years, this is the moment I've been waiting for. Excellent. Hu Ci took a step closer, extending his sturdy arm. Then go reclaim the spotlight that belongs to you. I linked my arm with his. As the grand doors slowly swung open, an overwhelming wave of shutter clicks and camera flashes instantly engulfed us. I was no longer the dutiful wife who hid behind Jiyu Jingchen, managing trivial household affairs for him. Instead, I stood shoulder to shoulder with this man at the pinnacle of the business world. As the chief architect of the Hu Group, a wave of murmurs rippled through the audience below. After all, just half an hour ago, I had been the scandalous protagonist who ran away from my own wedding. Everyone. Hu Ci stood before the microphone, his deep voice carrying an undeniable authority that instantly silenced all murmurs. Today, I have invited you all to witness the launch of the Hu Group's future core project, and standing beside me is MS, Lin Mu, who will serve as the global president of this initiative. Mr. Hu, will MS, Lin's engagement dispute with the Jiyu family affect the Hu Group's reputation? A reporter asked sharply. Hu Ci cast a cold glance at the person, a mocking smile curling at the corner of his lips. Engagement dispute? No, that was MS, Lin's precise severance of worthless assets. As for reputation, the Hu Group's reputation has always been built on strength, not on the fantasies of certain individuals. Just then, the back door of the press conference hall suddenly swung open. Jiyu Jingchen actually broke through the bodyguard's blockade and barged in, looking utterly disheveled. His white tailcoat was covered in wrinkles, his tie was askew, and his usually cold, arrogant face was now filled with shock, anger, and disbelief. Lin Mu, he roared at me from across the long corridor, his voice echoing through the empty hall. How dare you take the Jiyu Corporation's core code to Hu Ci? That's mine. This is a commercial crime. The lenses of all the reporters in the room instantly turned toward the disgraced heir of the chaebol. I pushed the microphone aside, walked slowly to the front of the stage, and looked down at him from above. Jiyu Jingchen, are you perhaps mistaken? My voice was calm, yet it carried a bone-chilling coldness. The underlying logic of that code was independently completed by me in the university laboratory, and the patent rights have always been under my personal name. 3 years ago, I lent it to the Jiyu Corporation because I thought we were building a family together. Now, I'm taking back what I lent. Is there a problem with that? You're lying. Without the financial support of the GU Corporation, your system would never have worked. GU Jingchen tried to rush onto the stage but was firmly restrained by the top-tier bodyguards beside Huasi. Financial support. I let out a light laugh, taking an audit report from my assistant and projecting it directly onto the large screen. Over the past 3 years, I've generated over 5 billion in pure profit for the GU Corporation, and what you call support is nothing more than that villa whose final payment is still outstanding and a few pieces of jewelry you casually gave to Su Miao Miao. GU Jingchen, let's settle the accounts clearly. Who exactly has been freeloading? A wave of low laughter erupted from the audience, and many of the influential figures began to cast disdainful glances at GU Jingchen. Huasi walked over at a leisurely pace, his large hand naturally wrapping around my waist, drawing me under his wing. He looked at the disheveled GU Jingchen, his eyes devoid of anger, only a cold indifference as if gazing at a lifeless object. Mr. GU, instead of shouting here, why not go back and check your stocks? Just now, I had Hua Corporation's technical department perform a small compatibility adjustment. By now, all of GU Corporation's servers should be paralyzed. After all, a system that loses its core architecture is like a corpse without a heart. GU Jingchen trembled with rage, and a mouthful of blood actually forced its way out, staining his pristine white suit at that moment. Mr. Zhao, a competitor of Hua Corporation who had long been eager to get a piece of the pie, couldn't resist stepping in to stir up trouble. Mr. Hua, although Miss Lin is talented, she is, after all, a woman and carries so much controversy. Isn't it too reckless to entrust such a major project to her? Huasi sneered, his gaze instantly turning as sharp as a blade. He did not answer Mr. Zhao but instead turned to me and said in a low voice, Lin Mu, prove it to them. I nodded, walked to the console, and my fingers danced swiftly across the holographic keyboard. In less than a minute, the previously dull code on the large screen was instantly restructured, transforming into a magnificent virtual city model, with the operational efficiency of each node increased by 300% compared to GU Corporation's peak performance. This is my child's play. I turned to Mr. Zhao, speaking rapidly and with impeccable logic. Mr. Zhao, if the semiconductor modules under your company can complete this level of concurrent processing within 3 seconds, I might consider listening to your suggestion. Unfortunately, you can't. Mr. Zhao's face turned ashen, and he was instantly left speechless. The press conference reached its climax, in full view of everyone. Huasi took my hand and, under the witness of countless camera flashes, lowered his head to place a devout yet aggressive kiss on the back of my hand. Lin Mu, from today onward, you are the queen of the Hua family, and my only partner. His cool voice spread across the internet through the microphone. I looked toward GU Jingchen, who was being escorted out by bodyguards at the door. He was staring intently at the scene of Huasi kissing the back of my hand, his eyes filled with jealousy and despair that seemed almost tangible at this moment. I felt an unprecedented sense of relief. Revenge is not the end. Standing at a height he can never reach and watching his downfall is the true redemption. In the president's office of the Hua Group, the floor-to-ceiling windows offered a view of the city above the clouds. I sat in the genuine leather swivel chair belonging to the chief architect, while the screen opposite me displayed the real-time stock price curve of the GU Group, a nearly vertical red plunge line. President Lin, several major shareholders of the GU Group have been waiting outside all morning. They said they hope to meet with you to discuss the patent licensing matter, my chief secretary said as she entered the room, her tone filled with barely concealed admiration. Meet with me. I set down the stylus in my hand, a cold sneer curling at the corner of my mouth. Tell them they can pledge their shares to anyone they want, but if they want my authorization, GU Jingchen must personally step down from the board and leave with nothing. 3 years ago, I helped GU Jingchen build his empire, to avoid taxes and simplify procedures. Many patents and overseas assets were registered under complex cross-holding companies. GU Jingchen thought those contracts were shackles to control me, but he never knew that I had embedded a circuit breaker mechanism within those legal clauses. As long as he violated the marriage agreement or was suspected of illegal activities, the ownership of those assets would instantly revert to me, the original creator. Now, Jiyu Jingchen not only faces massive breach of contract penalties but also a thorough investigation by the Economic Crime Unit for illegal money laundering. At that moment, the office door was abruptly pushed open. Lin Mu, do you have to be so ruthless? Gu's mother, dressed in a somewhat shabby grey cheongsam, had lost all her former elegance. Behind her stood several top-tier lawyers with grave expressions, clearly making a last-ditch effort. I slowly stood up, placing both hands on the table and looking directly at the elderly lady who had once humiliated me repeatedly. Unacceptable, Mrs. Gu. When Su Miao Miao cut my wedding dress to shreds, you said it was just a piece of clothing. When Jiyu Jingchen transferred my core technology to Su Miao Miao for practice, you called it marital joint property. So now, when it's your turn to suffer a loss, it suddenly hurts. That's extortion. Lawyer Zhong, standing beside Mrs. Gu, stepped forward with a stern expression. Miss Lin, according to marital law, although you never officially registered your marriage, the commercial value generated during your cohabitation period belongs to Lawyer Zhong. I think you may have forgotten something. I interrupted him, pulling a thick document from the drawer and slamming it onto the table. This is the Asset Independence Declaration and Technology Entrustment Agreement personally signed by Jiyu Jingchen 3 years ago. Back then, to prevent me from taking a share of his original stock, he practically begged me to sign this agreement. It clearly states, all underlying code and subsequent derivative architectures belong solely to Lin Mu, so, this precautionary agreement you were once so proud of, now it sounds like a funeral dirge, doesn't it? Lawyer Zhong opened the document, and his face instantly turned pale. Also, regarding Su Miao Miao, I sat back in my chair and opened a video surveillance file. She abused her position to accept huge kickbacks in the South American project and laundered those 3 billion funds through GU corporations. Internal accounts. I have already sent this evidence to the Public Relations Department. The current online public opinion has likely already torn apart her innocent childhood sweetheart persona. You venomous woman. Gu's mother trembled with rage, pointing at my nose and shrieking. Miao Miao is still a child. You're trying to ruin her entire life, a 23-year-old child. I sneered and pressed the intercom. Security, please escort our guest out. If Mrs. Gu isn't feeling well, she can go to the Hua private hospital next door. Out of consideration for our past relationship, I can give you a discount. Gu's mother was forcibly escorted out, her disheveled figure disappearing at the end of the corridor. Then, I opened social media, as expected. Su Miao Miao's scandal had already exploded, the recording of her bragging at the company about signing a flawed contract and mocking me as nothing more than Jing Chen's money-making tool had soared to the top of the trending list. The entire internet was in an uproar. The netizens who had once supported the childhood sweetheart's true love theory now turned against her. This is just too disgusting. Enjoying the success built by the original partner, yet still calling them a tool, Su Miao Miao isn't just a green tea anymore, she's a corporate spy and a fraudster, isn't she? My heart aches for Lin Mu. This kind of dimensional reduction strike is simply too cool. Hua Ci walked in at some point, holding 2 glasses of champagne in his hands. He naturally came up behind me, his warm breath brushing past my ear. The public opinion battle was fought beautifully. He handed me a glass of wine, his slender fingers brushing over the back of my hand. The last cornerstone of the Jiyu family has also collapsed. Just now, Jiyu Jingchen tried to use his last overseas private equity fund to save the market, but I intercepted it. Thanks, I clinked glasses with him, the cool liquid sliding down my throat, taking away a hint of restlessness. How do you plan to deal with Jiyu Jingchen? Hua Ci looked at the disheveled figure on the screen, nearly suffocated by the swarm of reporters, his tone as calm as if discussing tomorrow's weather. It's not over yet. I stared at the logo atop the GU Corporation building, my eyes icy cold. I want him to watch, in his most lucid moment, as the GU Corporation, which he values as his life, changes its surname to Lin. I want him to understand what true regret means only after he has lost everything. Hua Ci chuckled softly, wrapping an arm around my shoulder. Lin Mu, the way you are now truly resembles an elegant hunter. I'm looking forward to the hunt that follows. The red numbers in the stock exchange hall began to flash frantically. The board of directors at GU Corporation had descended into chaos. with those once arrogant directors now scrambling to extend olive branches to me in this game of money and power, I have already won the first half. The second half that follows is the real highlight, the one that will make Jiyu Jingchen wish he were dead. The rain in late autumn always carries a bone-chilling cold, as if trying to wash away all the superficial glamour of this city. I stood in the foyer of the top-floor apartment of the Hua residence. Having just taken off the well-tailored cashmere coat, Hua Si was sitting at the bar not far away, his slender fingers holding a crystal glass, the amber liquid reflecting a cold light under the lamp. He's been standing downstairs for 3 hours. Hua Si lifted his eyelids, his tone flat yet tinged with a hint of mockery, as if watching a show. Lin Mu, your ex has a bit more perseverance than I imagined. I walked to the floor-to-ceiling window and looked down. On the rain-soaked street below, a desolate figure stood stubbornly. The once high-spirited, arrogant president of the Jiyu family was now standing without an umbrella, his drenched suit clinging to his body, looking both ridiculous and pitiful. Let him come up. I withdrew my gaze, my voice devoid of any emotion. We need to settle this once and for all. 5 minutes later, Jiyu Jingchen appeared at the entrance. He was completely soaked, his leather shoes leaving a trail of muddy footprints on the expensive carpet. His once cold and sharp eyes were now filled with despair, and his meticulously styled hair was disheveled and plastered to his forehead. The eyes that had once looked at me with contempt now held only a humble plea. Moo moo, he began, his voice hoarse as if scraped by sandpaper. I sent Meow Meow away. She's suspected of embezzlement, and I've already cooperated with the economic investigation team by providing all the evidence. She'll be prosecuted. Are you satisfied now? I picked up the cup of hot tea that Hua Si handed me and took a slow sip. Mr. Jiyu, Su Meow Meow broke the law and is now facing the consequences. What does that have to do with whether I'm satisfied or not? Are you here to report your act of righteousness in sacrificing your own kin? No, I'm here to beg you to stop. Jiyu Jingchen took a step forward but was instantly blocked by 2 black-clad bodyguards who emerged from the shadows. He swayed slightly, looking at me almost pleadingly. Jiyu Corporation has already suffered 3 consecutive limit downs, banks are withdrawing loans, and suppliers are causing trouble. Lin Mu, that's the foundation my grandfather left me, and it's also what you spent 3 years building with your heart and soul. Do you really have the heart to watch it be destroyed? Foundation. I let out a light laugh, set down the teacup, and walked step by step toward him. Jiyu Jingchen, you've remembered it wrong. That wasn't my heart and soul, it was my shackles. I spent 3 years helping you repair that tomb, nearly burying myself along with it. I know I was wrong. Jiyu Jingchen suddenly lost control of his emotions, falling to his knees with a heavy, startling thud as his knees hit the floor. I was blinded before. I thought you would never leave. I thought it was just a habit. It wasn't until I saw you arm in arm with Hua Si at the press conference that I realized I was going insane. Moo moo, come back. I'll listen to everything you say. I'll transfer all my shares in Jiyu Corporation to you, as long as you're willing to come back and help me through this crisis. Looking at the man kneeling on the ground, kowtowing, I felt not a single ripple of emotion in my heart. It turns out that when a person becomes completely clear-headed, those once unforgettable loves and hatreds truly can turn into a stagnant, foul-smelling pool of dead water. Jiyu Jingchen, is it me you love? I crouched down, looking directly into his bloodshot eyes. No, what you love is that shadow who was always obedient, always able to solve your troubles. The me now is a partner of the Hua group, a rival who can bring you to ruin with a single hand. A Lin Mu like this, do you even deserve her? Get out. I stood up, not sparing him another glance. The only value you have now is to serve as a cautionary tale, warning those arrogant men, don't try to keep an eagle in a cage, because when she soars into the sky, it will be your end. At that moment, Hua Si set down his wine glass and slowly walked over. He naturally wrapped his arms around my waist from behind, a gesture full of a sense of ownership. His cool gaze fell on Jiyu Jingchen, as if looking at a completely uncompetitive loser. Mr. Jiyu, did you hear that? My person doesn't like to be disturbed. Hua Si's voice was not loud, but it carried the absolute dominance of someone in a position of power. Also, let me remind you that the shares you just mentioned were all acquired by me in Lin Mu's name at a premium half an hour ago. GU Corporation has now officially been renamed Mulin Technology, with the legal representative being Lin Mu. GU Jingchen was as if struck by lightning, his entire body collapsing onto the muddy carpet, his last shred of dignity, along with the family pride he had always boasted about, was completely shattered at this moment. "No, this can't be," he muttered incoherently as he was dragged out of the door by the bodyguards like a dead dog. The room fell silent once more. Huasi still hadn't let go. He lowered his head, his nose affectionately brushing against my ear. Feeling soft-hearted, I turned around, meeting his unfathomable gaze. "I was just thinking, it's time to burn that stack of old photos." I rummaged through my bag and pulled out the old group photo that had been left behind at the GU family villa. It was a picture of me and GU Jingchen in front of the library during my junior year of college, right in front of Huasi. I tore it into pieces without a trace of emotion and casually tossed it into the trash can. "Out with the old, in with the new," Huasi chuckled softly, planting a kiss on my forehead. "Miss Lin, congratulations on officially reclaiming the empire that belongs to you." The rain outside the window was gradually easing, but my journey was just beginning. In the twilight of Paris, the banks of the Seine were draped in a layer of delicate gold foil. Inside the art center near the Louvre, the annual Global Technology Outstanding Contribution Award ceremony was underway. I wore a dark silver gown, meticulously handcrafted by top artisans, its hem flowing with a cold light reminiscent of starlight. Standing backstage, I watched the scrolling list of nominees on the large screen. My name, Lin Mu, was at the top. "Ms. Lin, here is the speech you'll be using later," my assistant whispered as a reminder. I took the draft but casually placed it on the table beside me. 3 years ago, I had ghostwritten countless speeches for GU Jingchen, each one filled with utmost humility. But today, I don't need a draft, I only need to speak the truth that has been suppressed in my heart for far too long. Next, let's welcome this year's award winner, the founder of Mulinson Technology, Ms. Lin Mu. Thunderous applause erupted. I walked steadily in my 10-centimeter high heels, each step as if shattering the skeleton of all the past humiliations. Standing under the spotlight, I looked out at the industry giants from around the world seated below. In the very center of the front row, Huasi sat with his legs crossed. Unlike the others who were clapping wildly, he simply fixed me with a deep, intense gaze, a hint of "I knew you would win" certainty curling at the corner of his lips. 3 years ago, someone told me that a woman's best destiny lies in the family, in becoming the shadow behind a successful man. I gripped the microphone, my voice cool and resolute. But today, standing here, I want to tell all women like me, a shadow can never possess light. If you feel surrounded by darkness, become your own light. Don't wait to be saved, become the one who makes the rules. The entire room fell silent for 3 seconds, then erupted into cheers 10 times more fervent than before. At the very moment I was basking in this long overdue glory, on the other side of the ocean, in a dim and cramped visitation room, another drama was drawing to a close. Through the remote monitoring on my tablet, I saw Su Miao Miao. She was dressed in an orange prison uniform, her once proud face now rough and dulled from allergic reactions and the labor of prison life. Through the bulletproof glass, she hurled frantic curses at the empty screen, her eyes filled with the despair of someone on the brink of collapse. The charges of embezzlement and commercial fraud she faced had left her staring down a 15-year prison sentence. "Lin Mu, you deserve a miserable death. You've destroyed everything I had," she screamed until the guards forcibly subdued her. "And what about GU Jingchen? He didn't go to prison, but he suffered more than if he had." At that moment, he was curled up in a cheap rental room in an urban village, watching my award ceremony live on TV. On the screen, I was radiant, a kind of nobility he had never been able to reach. Clutching a bottle of cheap liquor, he watched me walk off the stage, arm in arm with Huasi. He finally understood that what he had lost was not a submissive wife, but a miracle capable of changing the world. He had once thought of himself as the benefactor who bestowed glory upon me, never realizing that I was the only salvation in his life. When he pushed that salvation away with his own hands, all that remained for the rest of his life was endless regret and poverty. The climax of the evening came when Huasi, holding a wine glass, made his way through the crowd and stopped precisely in front of me. "Miss Lin, Congratulations, it seems even I might not be worthy of you now, he said, raising an eyebrow in a half-joking manner. You're too modest, Mr. Hua, I replied, clinking glasses with him as the aroma of red wine lingered at the tip of my nose. If it weren't for the initial game played by the Hua family, this awakening might have come even later. No, Lin Mu, gold will always shine. I was merely the miner who happened to pass by. He suddenly leaned in and whispered in my ear, tonight's celebration is just for the two of us. I've prepared a gift for you, a promise of absolute freedom for the future. I gazed into his deep eyes, where there was no longer only calculation and self-interest, but also an emotion called resonance flowing within. I once thought revenge was the end, but now I realize that revenge is merely clearing the house. The true brilliance begins from this moment, as I take full control of the map of my own life, with no one else able to dictate or interfere. Jiyu Jingchen has become a thing of the past, and Su Miao Miao is now a prisoner. As for me, I stand at the peak of the world, welcoming the dawn that belongs to me on the high seas. The Aurora, a cruise ship under the Hua Group, cuts quietly through the waves. On the private starlight terrace atop the deck, only the whispers of the evening breeze and the lapping of the waves intertwine. Here, far from the clamor of flashing cameras and the smoke of business battles, there is only the dazzling, almost surreal galaxy overhead. I took off my high heels and stepped barefoot onto the warm, cool teak floor. Huasi had somehow walked up behind me, holding a shawl as white as snow in his hand. It was the wedding dress he had specially commissioned to be remade for me. Now it looked more like a radiant work of art. It retained the elegant lines of the original mermaid gown but removed the heavy constraints, incorporating the smart color-changing fibers I had personally designed. With my heartbeat and body temperature, it now displayed a faint aurora purple. I named it Freedom, Huasi said as he gently draped the shawl over my shoulders, his hands naturally encircling my neck. His movements were tender yet carried the steady control of someone in command. Lin Mu, in the past, you wore a wedding dress to please others. Today, you wear it only to please yourself. I turned around and met his eyes, which were cool yet burning with intensity. At this moment, I was already the head of Mu Lin Sen Technology, a company with a market value of billions, and the most steadfast global partner of the Hua Group. Huasi, the gift you gave me is too extravagant, I chuckled lightly, my fingertips tracing the sapphire pin on his suit lapel. Compared to the technological innovation you brought to the Hua Group, this is just a drop in the ocean. He lowered his head, his nose touching mine, our breaths mingling. Besides, the asset I value most has always been you, Lin Mu. Jiyu Jingchen used to treat you like a caged bird, but I only want to see you soar high in the sky. If you're willing, we can share this starry sky equally. I looked at him. This man was more powerful and dangerous than Jiyu Jingchen, but he also understood what true respect meant. He never hid his ambitions, nor did he ever suppress my brilliance. Just then, my private tablet vibrated, and a push notification popped up. That is the final settlement result of the GU Family Consortium. Jiyu Jingchen, unable to repay the massive high-interest loans and penalty fees, had his last old mansion forcibly auctioned off by the court. Su Miao Miao, suffering a mental breakdown in prison, was transferred to a supervised hospital. As for Madame Jiyu, once the unyielding matriarch of a wealthy family, she now relies on the charity of relatives to get by. The 3 mountains that once weighed heavily on me have now turned to dust beneath my feet. I calmly turned off the screen. There was no imagined ecstasy, only a sense of tranquility, as if waking from a long dream. True revenge is never about killing them, but about letting them live in the shadows, day after day, watching me stand at heights they can never reach, shining brilliantly. What are you thinking about? Huasi noticed my distraction. I was thinking about the Lin Mu from 3 years ago. I looked up at the starry sky. If she could see me now, she would surely find it unbelievable. That shadow who only knew how to tailor wedding dresses for others has now built an empire with her own hands. She would be proud of you. Huasi reached out, pressing his palm firmly against the back of my head, his tone turning extremely serious. Lin Mu, you don't need to prove anything to anyone anymore. From now on, you are your own god. He slowly lowered his head and kissed my lips. This kiss carried no hint of transaction, only the resonance of souls trembling in unison. The sea breeze brushed past Lifting the hem of the dress I wore, named Freedom, I remembered what Jiu Jing Chen once said to me, "Lin Mu, you can't leave me." Now, I want to say to him, and to that once humble self, no, it was only after I left that false safe haven that I discovered how vast the world outside truly is. The first glimmer of dawn flickered on the horizon. It was the beginning of a new day, and the prelude to the second half of my life. Holding Hua Xi's hand, I stood side by side with him at the edge of the balcony, overlooking this vast expanse of sea. The global launch event for Mulinson technology will begin in 3 hours. Together, we will revolutionize the entire energy industry. My name will no longer be attached to anyone else. Instead, it will become the most dazzling symbol of this era. Love and hate have faded, old dreams have burned away. From now on, the twilight has dispersed, and the farewell is at its most poignant.